I'm just going to pass you to Pat Coyle, who is with San Francisco Professional Chapter, and they're just in implementation right now. Pat, up to you.
Thanks so much, Whatdrupal. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our remote implementation experience with this joint Engineers Without Borders San Francisco Professionals and UC Berkeley project. And I want to stress the joint part of that because from the get-go, we've been partnered with them. So the prior scene was a view of the community overlooking it from Peña Labrada, which is this is in the central highlands of Nicaragua, 90 kilometers from Managua. But El Llanito is a community of about 300 homes, 1,100 people. The water supply is primarily a 100-foot well with a hand pump, and some people walk a mile or more up and down hills to get their daily water. They've had the well since 2002, but have been waiting 20 years for a water distribution system. So as I mentioned, this is a close run from, it's like the slide's a little clipped on my screen, but basically from the airport up to, through Boaco and up to Santa Lucia, which is the municipality of which El Llanito is one of the 15 or so communities around there. That's about a 2-hour kind of a drive to get up there. My point being is you can catch a red eye into Nicaragua, be there in the morning and be at the project site by mid-afternoon. This is just an overall diagram of our distribution system from our AutoCAD design. This just primarily presents the overall distribution, the location of the well, and the location of the storage tanks. This was the existing condition. This is that 100-foot well and how it's used. And this is the reason for this. If you look at these, mostly women carrying 5-gallon pails of water. There's about 40 pounds on their head and shoulders. There's a strong incentive to reduce the travel time, and it's trying to really mitigate this problem. That's the scope. I won't read all of these elements, but you can see here from the well support building and connection to the utility power, putting a submersible electric pump in that well, our distribution system, about 4 kilometers of pipeline, a couple pressure brake tanks, all the rest of it there, 50-meter tap stands. So people will still be carrying water to their homes in the initial period of use of this system, but they'll have a much shorter walk to get to it. And I just want to stress the kinds of things that Whatdrupal did, that it's really the combination. We all who are doing ICP projects know about the importance of the NGO and our community-based organization. When you add a country office to that mix and you've got strong, in our case, the water committee is the community-based organization, and the community commitment behind them, you have a really strong combination that's just been essential to the success of this project. And the very close coordination between the country office, our NGO partner, Alcanza Nicaragua, and our water committee has been really crucial. And in terms of the kinds of things that were done that really were so huge for us, the country office conducted trainings, they performed water tests, they acted as our procurement agent and placed contracts. They arranged material delivery, provided engineering and technical support and services. They hired and paid our local mason and foreman to lead volunteers. And going to the story about getting those funds in there that Whatdrupal touched on, we started with Engineers Without Borders funds, and then this is a Rotary Global Grant funded project, contributing a major chunk of it, almost $37,000 has been expended there, and we paid out on that Rotary funding based on receipts or quotations from the country office. So we'd buy this stuff with our Engineers Without Borders funds, we'd reimburse the country office with our Rotary Global Grant funds until we burn through that 37K, and then we will complete the project with EWB funding. And so this was just a busy 2018. This is, go by real fast. But basically, the community was, our NGO helped to get the community to look at our alternatives analysis in a series of meetings. They also elected their water committee and got it formalized as a CAPS. The country office came out and trained the CAPS, and one of those slides included a photograph of our Rotary in-country partner from the Messiah Rotary, who was at the wells taking a look there. And then we did have the good fortune, as Whatdrupal mentioned, the civil unrest had meant that we were planning to do this project remotely, and then there was enough change in the situation that with strict safety protocols, we were able to travel. So we arrived on the 29th of December, and we're there through January 18th on what we referred to as an early implementation. which was to get this little well support building constructed and start the pipeline and make sure that everything that we needed people to do while we weren't there after we left, that we had high confidence that they were trained and able to do that. And everybody got a chance to be involved and get trained on that pipeline installation. It was really great for cementing all our relationships with the partners. This video, you can find all these images in our trip report. Basically, these are the content of our post-trip report. At this community kickoff meeting, we had 160 plus community members there. This is our lead foreman, Martin, using his fixture to be able to check the width and depth of a trench without having to pull out a tape measure. Groundbreaking for the well support site. This is in a neighboring community where emergency water problem has resulted in the NGO helping them get those IBC totes. This is the start of construction of the well support building slab. We saw some of our UC Berkeley. We had 5 young women travel on this trip, and they were played a pivotal part in it. There they are working at the well support building and actually getting their hands dirty. Nearly complete here. Pretty extensive hilly terrain to trench in, and we thought this was going to be a real problem, but by the time we were done in our stay there, they had 90% of the trenching done. These are valve boxes, and we tried to do first articles of each one of these junction boxes for valves. 2-inch distribution mains. Here's one of the first tap stands. This is a pipe pressure testing rig that Steve Isaacs
from the West Coast TAC shared with us.
That was a nice bit of EWB share.
Here's Phil Bowman, our responsible engineer in charge. The completed tap stands, and myself walking with the water board members staking the tap stands.
The continuing implementation from when we left in January 19 to present, because of the relationships and because of the support from the country office, we're able to go ahead and finish all of that 4 kilometers of pipelines, all 50 of the tap stands, all the rest of the stuff is done now. And Martin led that work, and we had weekly visits from the country office engineer. Eveline was able to come and support us. She was on site for all critical work like electrical installation in the pump house. And Phil was our point of contact. That's a really key point that Whatdrupal made, is you have to have somebody ready to answer the mail. And that meant daily, almost daily kind of communication via WhatsApp and Google Translate. Phil and my Spanish isn't the greatest and so forth, to resolve issues, approve material purchase, just anything that comes up. So we whipped through these real quick. You can see kind of, these will just give you. This was an interesting one of the river crossings. We have one other case where we actually suspended the pipeline aerially, but in most cases we buried them. In this case, we had this bridge to strap onto. I just want to sum up here that I think the EWB 2.0 strategy, where we focus ICP work in countries where we've got country offices, has really paid off for our individual project success. The Nicaragua country office team, they're very capable, and they're really a pleasure to work with. We've been very fortunate to have the level of commitment, engagement, and capacity in the El Llanito community, and our NGO partners in Alcanza, Nicaragua, are first-class community facilitators, and their members live in and around this community and in another location where they have another office. These pre-trip calls and WhatsApp and Zoom sessions and coordination from the very beginning of this project inception have helped us have a good reservoir of mutual trust. Our on-site visit just reinforced that relationship with everyone. And I would remind people again that remote implementation really requires frequent, almost daily communication and rapid decisions and responses by the chapter.